Welcome back, deep divers. Today we are going to unpack a truly fascinating topic, really a concerning intersection of history, identity, and politics. We're diving into the story of transgender individuals at the Stonewall Riots.
Okay.
It's a story that's often overlooked, unfortunately. We'll focus specifically on Marsha P. Johnson and Stormé DeLarverie, and then we'll shift gears to the present day
Interesting.
and explore how Executive Order 14168, specifically its directive to the National Park Service, attempts to reshape the narrative. So get ready for some really powerful insights from historical articles, Wikipedia, the White House website, and even some incredible video interviews.
What's really compelling, I think, is how this deep dive reveals the ongoing struggle over historical memory. You know, who gets remembered, who gets erased, and what are the implications of, well, silencing certain voices.
Right.
It's a huge question. So buckle up, because we're about to uncover some hidden truths.
I'm ready. So to really grasp the significance of Stonewall and why transgender individuals were at the forefront, we need to rewind back to the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah.
The Stonewall Uprising documentary paints a vivid and, frankly, disturbing picture of what life was like for LGBTQ+ individuals back then.
Yeah, it was a time when simply existing as your authentic self could land you in jail.
Wow.
Just imagine living under constant threat of police raids, with officers using entrapment tactics to arrest people for simply wearing clothing that didn't align with their assigned sex.
It's crazy.
The documentary mentions a law requiring individuals to wear at least 3 articles of clothing corresponding to their assigned sex. These weren't just abstract policies. They were tools used to control and dehumanize LGBTQ+ individuals.
It's mind-boggling how even the smallest acts of self-expression were criminalized. The documentary even mentions people having to carry their draft cards to prove their sex if they were dressed in drag. And beyond legal persecution, the social stigma was incredibly harsh. We hear this in Sylvia Rivera's interview. She recounts her own mother saying she was lower than a dog just for being gay. It makes you realize the profound emotional toll this took on individuals.
Absolutely. Sylvia's experience wasn't unique. Being constantly told that society wants you to have no reality, as she poignantly puts it, is incredibly damaging. Imagine the internalized shame and the fear of being ostracized by your own family and community. It's heartbreaking.
It really is. And when you hear Sylvia talk about scrubbing herself raw after encounters with Johns just to feel clean, it's a stark reminder of how dehumanizing the societal attitudes were. It's no wonder that places like the Stonewall Inn became vital lifelines for the LGBTQ+ community, especially for those who were most marginalized.
Precisely. The Stonewall Inn, while Mafia-owned, offered a rare haven for transgender women, drag queens, and homeless youth. They could express themselves freely, find community, and escape the relentless persecution they faced outside its doors.
Yeah.
The fact that it was Mafia-owned speaks volumes about the lack of safe and legal spaces for LGBTQ+ individuals.
Right.
They were forced into the shadows, seeking refuge in places operating outside the law.
It's within this context of intense discrimination and the need for safe spaces that we encountered 2 remarkable women, Marsha P. Johnson and Stormé DeLarverie. Their stories, as we learn from Marsha's Wikipedia entry and the YouTube video A Stormé Life, are filled with resilience and defiance.
Marsha, with her flamboyant style and an unwavering generosity, was a true icon. She earned the nickname Saint Marsha for a reason.
Yeah.
And Stormé, who transitioned from a musical career to activism, was known for her commanding presence and her fierce advocacy for her community.
They were both incredibly strong individuals, especially considering the adversity they faced.
Absolutely.
Marsha struggled with mental health challenges and experienced homelessness, and the circumstances surrounding her death remain shrouded in mystery. Stormé endured decades of discrimination, even losing her partner after 26 years together.
Yet, despite these hardships, both Marsha and Stormé refused to be silenced. They embraced their identities and fought tirelessly for the rights of their community.
It's amazing how, even in the face of such immense challenges, they found the strength to not only survive, but to actively fight for change. And that fight, well, it reached a boiling point during the Stonewall Riots. Let's set the scene. It's a sweltering June night in 1969.
Oh, wow.
The Stonewall Inn is packed, a refuge from a world that sought to erase them.
Right.
Suddenly, police storm in, lights blazing, ready to enforce the city's discriminatory laws.
The tension must have been, wow, palpable. This wasn't the first time the Stonewall Inn had been raided, but something was different this time.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was years of pent-up frustration and anger. Or maybe it was witnessing yet another act of brutality. but the patrons decided they weren't going to take it anymore.
Right. Witnesses in the Stonewall Uprising documentary describe a chaotic scene. Some recall a woman being struck on the head by a police officer that really ignited a spark of defiance that quickly spread through the crowd. Others remember multiple butch lesbians fighting back while still inside the bar, refusing to be humiliated and arrested yet again.
The riots weren't just about resisting police brutality, though. They were about reclaiming dignity and demanding recognition. And while the image of Marsha P. Johnson throwing the first brick has become somewhat legendary, it's crucial to remember that this was a collective uprising. It was fueled by the shared experiences of countless individuals who had endured years of oppression.
Yeah, it's incredible how that night ignited a firestorm that spread far beyond the streets of Greenwich Village. The riots continued for days, evolving into a full-blown rebellion against a system that sought to deny their very existence. The documentary shows people using anything they could find as weapons: parking meters, bricks, even garbage cans set on fire. It was a chaotic and violent clash, but it also marked a turning point in the fight for LGBTQ plus rights.
The Stonewall Riots forced the world to acknowledge the LGBTQ plus community's existence and their demand for equality. They propelled figures like Marsha P. Johnson and Stormé DeLarverie to the forefront of the burgeoning gay rights movement.
And we can't forget Sylvia Rivera, who played a pivotal role in those early days of activism. She co-founded the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, or STAR, with Marsha P. Johnson. STAR was radical for its time. It was providing housing and support for homeless transgender youth, a segment of the community often overlooked, even within the LGBTQ plus movement.
SNAR highlights the often forgotten struggles of transgender individuals within the broader fight for LGBTQ plus rights. Sylvia herself felt increasingly sidelined as the movement gained momentum, often prioritizing the needs of gay men over the more marginalized trans community. It's a reminder that even within social justice movements, there can be internal power dynamics and struggles for recognition.
Her interview is so powerful, especially when she talks about being willing to die on the streets for gay liberation. She was a true revolutionary, dedicating her life to fighting for the rights of those who are most marginalized and vulnerable.
The Stonewall Riots also marked a shift in how the media portrayed the LGBTQ plus community. Publications like The Village Voice, which had previously used derogatory language, started adopting the term gay. It reflected a growing awareness and a tentative step towards more respectful representation.
It's fascinating how language can be both a tool of oppression and a catalyst for change. The media's role in shaping public perception and amplifying marginalized voices is so crucial, and we see that clearly in the aftermath of Stonewall.
The riots were a watershed moment, but the fight for equality was far from over. And as we move into the present day, we see how that fight continues, taking on new forms and facing new challenges. One of those challenges comes in the form of Executive Order 14168, which, well, it attempts to redefine sex based solely on biological factors.
This order, issued in 2021, is incredibly concerning because it effectively erases the recognition of gender identity. It directs federal agencies to remove references to gender identity from their policies and communications, which has a chilling effect on transgender rights. It's as if the progress made since Stonewall is being deliberately undone.
Yeah, it's like we're witnessing a deliberate attempt to rewrite history, erasing the very people who fought for the rights and recognition that the LGBTQ plus community enjoys today. And what's even more alarming is that this erasure, it isn't just confined to abstract policy documents. Right, you're absolutely right. We see the tangible effects of this order in actions like the U.S. Park Service removing the word transgender from its website about the Stonewall Riots. This directive, directly influenced by Executive Order 14168, is a stark example of how political agendas can manipulate historical narratives and silence marginalized voices.
It's as if they're trying to say that Marsha, Stormé, Sylvia, and countless other transgender individuals, that they weren't there, that their struggle didn't matter. It's a blatant attempt to invalidate their experiences and erase their contributions to a pivotal moment in history. It makes me wonder, what are the long-term consequences of such historical revisionism?
The implications are deeply troubling. When we erase the contributions of certain groups, we distort our understanding of the past, and we perpetuate harmful stereotypes. In this case, it's not just about historical accuracy, it's about denying the lived experiences of transgender individuals and undermining their fight for equality. It sets a dangerous precedent for how history is written and who gets to be remembered.
So how do we combat this erasure and ensure that the stories of marginalized communities are preserved and accurately represented. It feels like a daunting task, especially when those in power are actively trying to control the narrative.
Well, I think it starts with awareness. We need to be critical consumers of information, questioning the dominant narratives and seeking out diverse perspectives. We need to support institutions and organizations that are committed to preserving and sharing accurate historical accounts. And we need to amplify the voices of those who have been marginalized.
That makes me think of something Sylvia Rivera said in her interview. We're not sick people. It's a simple statement, yet it speaks volumes about the dehumanization that transgender individuals have faced. We need to remember that they are not a threat. They are not deviants. They are people with stories, experiences, and contributions that deserve to be acknowledged and respected.
Exactly. This deep dive has really highlighted the vital role that transgender individuals played in the Stonewall Riots, a moment that ignited the modern LGBTQ plus rights movement. To erase their contributions is to erase a crucial part of history, and that's something we cannot allow to happen.
So as we wrap up today, what can our listeners do to actively engage in this fight against historical erasure?
I would encourage everyone to do their own research, to seek out the stories of Marsha P. Johnson, Stormé DeLarverie, Sylvia Rivera, and countless other transgender individuals who have shaped history. Their stories are powerful, their voices matter, and their legacies deserve to be remembered and celebrated. Share what you learn, engage in conversations about historical representation, and challenge those who perpetuate harmful narratives.
Beautifully said. And remember, history is not a passive thing. It's something we all participate in shaping. We choose what stories we listen to, what voices we amplify, and what narratives we believe. By actively engaging with history and advocating for inclusive and accurate representation, we can ensure that the struggles and triumphs of all communities are remembered and honored. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked a fire in you to learn more and become an active participant in preserving the stories that shape our world.